The galaxy was falling apart. Worlds that once shined like jewels now floated in ruins. Cities turned to dust, and the stars themselves seemed to grow dimmer each day. The great empires that ruled for thousands of years were gone. The Xenar Dominion had fallen first, crushed by their own machines. The Valari Republic followed, their fleets burning in silent space, and the Council of Races, once the voice of peace, sat in silence, powerless. Their fleets were destroyed. Their leaders lost. Their hope gone. No one spoke of victory anymore. No one spoke of tomorrow. And no one, absolutely no one, spoke of hope. Then, one day, a strange signal came through the deep void. It came from a dying star, a place no one visited in centuries. At first, the scanners ignored it. The sound was old, distorted, almost impossible to understand. But when they cleaned the noise, the words became clear. It was a human voice. Humans, the ancient race that had vanished long ago after the Great Collapse. Many believed they were myths now, ghosts of a forgotten war. No one expected to hear them again, but the message was short, strong, and filled with something the galaxy had forgotten. If you still breathe, then fight. Hope never dies. The signal repeated again and again, echoing across empty space. The message traveled faster than light gossip. It spread through broken fleets, pirate channels, and hidden colonies. Some said it was a trick, maybe a trap from the old human war machines. Others laughed, calling it fake, just a signal from an old satellite. But some wanted to believe because deep down, even the coldest hearts remembered the humans. They remembered how Earth had once stood alone against half the galaxy and still refused to kneel. They remembered that when humans fought, they fought not for control but for hope. The council gathered again, for the first time in years. 7 alien leaders sat in a dark hall, their faces lit only by the flicker of dying stars on the screen before them. The high speaker of the Turnai said softly, "We all heard it. The voice is human." A cold silence followed. One of the reptilian generals hissed, "Impossible. The humans are gone. Their world is dust." Another elder replied, "So were we, and yet here we sit." Finally, the council made a choice. They would send one small scout ship, nothing large, nothing threatening, to find the source of the signal. Not for war, not for power, just for truth. The mission was named Echo Search. The ship Savior's End was old and scarred from 100 battles, but it still flew. Its crew was mixed, a few brave souls from dying species who had nothing left to lose. Their captain, Kale Thir of the Valari, had once fought against humans centuries ago. Now he led the search to find one. Days turned to weeks as they followed the trail of the signal. They crossed burned systems, fields of wrecked ships, and silent planets. Everywhere they went, they saw the same story: destruction, emptiness, and silence, until one day, the signal grew stronger. It led them to a planet that wasn't on any map, a dark world hidden behind the dust of a collapsed star. Its surface was covered in ash. Storms roared endlessly, lightning tearing through black clouds. Sensors showed no cities, no life signs, only the same human voice repeating again and again. "If you still breathe, then fight. Hope never dies." Kael'thir looked at the world and whispered, "Prepare the landing craft." The crew descended through fire and storm, the ship shaking as thunder screamed around them. When they landed, everything was dead. The ground was cold. The wind carried the smell of burned metal. It looked like a world that had died a long time ago. But then one of the scanners blinked. A life form, small, weak, human. The soldiers followed the signal through the ruins of an ancient bunker. Walls cracked, lights flickered, and strange human symbols still glowed faintly on the screens. They moved carefully, weapons ready, unsure if this was a trap. And then they saw him. A man. A real living human sitting beside a broken terminal. His hair was gray, his clothes torn, his face covered in scars. But his eyes burned with the same fire that had once terrified empires. When the aliens entered, the man didn't look surprised. He stood slowly and smiled. Kael'thir stepped forward and said, "You're human." "But how? Earth is gone." The man looked at him calm and steady and replied, "Gone? No, not gone. Just waiting." Kael'thir frowned. "Waiting for what?" The human's smile widened. "For you. For the galaxy to remember what hope means. Before anyone could respond, the bunker lights flickered red. Warning sirens blared. The scanners showed massive movement in orbit. Unknown ships approaching fast. Kelthir turned to the human. "What is this?" the man whispered. "The ones who ended us. They're back." Above the dark world, massive shadows broke through the clouds, warships unlike anything seen in ages. The crew watched in horror as the sky burned again. And for the first time in centuries, the galaxy realized that humanity's story wasn't over. It was only beginning. The sky burned red as thunder cracked across the ruins. The alien crew stared upward in horror. Dark ships, massive, metallic, and silent, descended through the storm clouds. Each one carried the mark of death, the symbol of the Sindar Empire, the same machines that had destroyed countless worlds centuries ago. Kelthir shouted, "Shields up! Prepare to defend the landing zone." But their small ship was nothing compared to what hung above them. The human, thin, scarred, his eyes glowing faintly in the dark, didn't move. He watched the sky with calm, almost like he had seen this before. Kelthir turned to him. "You knew they would come?" The man nodded slowly. "They always come when someone speaks of hope. They can smell it." The crew exchanged uneasy looks. The Sindar were machines built to destroy will. They hunted those who still believed. Kelthir stepped closer.
"Who are you?"
The man looked at him and said, "My name is Elias Ward. I was a soldier." Before the fall of Earth, the aliens froze. That name, Elias Ward, was in old data archives. He was one of the last human commanders during the final war. He shouldn't be alive. Kelthir's voice shook. "You're centuries old." Elias smiled faintly. "Not by choice. The bunker had cryo chambers. I was the only one who woke up. The wind howled through the broken walls. The ground trembled as Sindar ships landed in the distance. Kelthir spoke urgently. "We have to leave. They'll destroy everything." But Elias didn't move. He looked toward the sky, his hand tightening around a rusted piece of metal. A human ID tag. "If we run, they'll follow. They always do."
"We need to stand," Kelthir snapped. "Stand?"
"Against them? We have one ship, 5 soldiers, and a half-dead world." Elias turned slowly, his expression calm yet sharp as steel. "You think I don't know what impossible looks like? I watched my world burn, Captain. I buried hope once. I'm not burying it again." His voice carried a strange weight, a tone that silenced even the storm. The alien soldiers stared at him. For a moment, they didn't see a broken man. They saw something older, something unshakable. Kelthir finally said, "Then tell us what to do." Elias walked to the bunker terminal and touched a cracked screen. Blue light flickered weakly, revealing maps of the planet. "This world isn't dead," he said. "It's sleeping. Under these ruins lies something my people built during the last days. Project Dawnfire." Kelthir frowned. "Another weapon?" Elias shook his head. "No, a promise. Something to reignite dying stars. Something built to bring light back to the galaxy. But we never finished it." He zoomed in on an old underground site, a massive structure buried beneath the planet's crust. "If we can reach it, maybe we can wake it. Maybe it can help us fight back." Outside, thunder shook the ground again. The Sindar were moving fast, metallic shadows spreading through the ruins like a plague. Kelthir turned to his crew. "Prepare to move. We'll follow the human," one of the soldiers whispered. "Captain, he's mad. We'll die down there." Kelthir replied quietly, "We'll die up here if we stay." They moved through the ruins, led by Elias, who walked with strange certainty, like every broken street and fallen building was part of a memory he couldn't forget. He spoke softly as they passed burned-out walls and shattered statues. "We built this world as a refuge, a last stand. But the galaxy didn't come. They watched us burn," Kelthir said. "The Council, we didn't know." Elias smiled without anger. "You knew. You just didn't believe we could win." The words hit deep. For the first time, Kelthir felt shame, the kind that came from seeing what courage really looked like. As they reached the entrance to the underground vault, the scanners beeped rapidly. Life signs, hundreds of them, were closing fast. The Sindar. Elias knelt by a rusted panel and began to type codes into the old system. The door creaked, gears screaming after centuries of silence. Just before it opened, he turned to Kelthir. "Once we go in, there's no going back. You still want to follow me?" Kelthir looked at the sky, red and burning, and then at the human who stood like a man made of fire. He nodded. If this is what hope looks like, I'll follow. The door opened. They entered the darkness below as explosions shook the ground above. Deep inside, ancient machines began to hum again. Faint lights flickered on. Walls covered in dust revealed the symbol of old Earth, a blue circle with a white star at its center. Elias stared at it for a long time. Then he whispered, "Welcome back, humanity." Behind them, the Sindar forces broke through the surface, cold, metallic beings with no faces, no hearts. They began their descent, chasing the only living human left, but something else. Far beyond the dark planet, across the broken systems of the galaxy, the Council of Races met again. It was the first full meeting in almost 100 years. The grand hall was silent. No banners, no light. Only cold stars glimmered through the glass roof, reminding everyone how empty the galaxy had become. 7 leaders sat in the circle, each from a dying world, each too afraid to admit the truth. They had lost. Rumors of the human signal and the last survivor had already spread. Some called it a lie. Others whispered the name of the man, Elias Ward, the last human. The high speaker of the Turnai broke the silence. Her voice trembled. Reports confirm. The Cinder have returned, and a human lives among the ruins of the old colonies. Murmurs filled the chamber. One alien, scaled and tall, slammed his fist on the table. Impossible. Humanity is extinct. Their return will bring more war, not peace. Another elder hissed. If the Sindar are moving again, then we must hide. Not chase ghosts. But one voice rose above the chaos, deep, calm, and steady. It was Kale Thier, captain of the Savior's End. He stood in the center, armor cracked, his face tired but proud. And beside him stood Elias Ward. Every eye in the room turned to the human. He looked nothing like the ancient images in the archives. No armor, no weapon. Just a man in torn clothes, his eyes glowing with quiet fire. The high speaker whispered, almost afraid, "Humanity lives." Elias looked around slowly, then said softly, "Humanity remembers." His voice was calm, but it carried through the entire hall, sharp, clear, and full of weight. Kylthir spoke first. "He saved my crew. Without him, we'd be dead. He woke something on that world, something called Project Dawnfire." Gasps filled the room. Old legends spoke of it, a last human effort to save the stars before the fall. Elias stepped forward. He didn't shout. He didn't raise his hands. But the room went silent the moment he spoke. "You all sit here waiting for death. You call yourselves leaders, but all I see are survivors afraid to breathe." The alien lords shifted uncomfortably. Elias continued. "The Sindar are not your enemies. They are your reflection, the part of you that gave up, the part that forgot what life meant." One of the council members growled, "You speak as if you know better, human. Your kind brought the galaxy to ruin." Elias turned to him and said simply, "We did, because we refused to kneel." The hall fell silent again. No one had ever heard a human speak like this, not with hate, but with conviction. Elias took a deep breath and looked at them all. "You think hope is something you can buy or trade. You think peace comes from fear. You're wrong. Hope is born when everything else dies, when you've lost everything, but still stand up anyway." Kylthir watched the faces around the circle, leaders who had seen centuries of defeat now listening to a single man. Even the high speaker leaned forward, whispering, "Why did you come back, human? What do you want?" Elias looked up toward the stars. "I didn't come to rule. I came to remind you what it means to fight for tomorrow." He touched a small device on his wrist. The hall's lights dimmed and a projection appeared, the image of Project Dawnfire, a massive, star-shaped structure buried inside a planet, glowing with pale light. "This is Dawnfire, a machine built not to destroy but to heal. It can reignite stars, rebuild energy, and bring life back to dead systems. Humanity built it to save you, even when you abandoned us." Shock spread across the chamber. Some stood in disbelief. Others lowered their heads in shame. A counselor asked, "Why tell us this? Why not use it for yourself?" Elias smiled faintly. "Because humans learned a hard truth. You can't save a galaxy alone. We tried, we failed. But maybe, together we can finish what we started." The high speaker's eyes softened. "And if we refuse?" Elias looked at her without anger. "Then you'll die afraid, and I'll die free." The room froze. In those simple words, he had spoken the truth none of them could deny. Calthair stepped forward beside him. I have seen this man stand before death itself. I have seen his fire. The galaxy has forgotten hope, but he hasn't. If he is willing to lead, I will follow. Slowly, one by one, other voices joined him. The Turnai, the Varen, even the cold-blooded Zirath. They all stood, not for politics, not for pride, but for something they had not felt in centuries. Belief. Elias bowed his head slightly. Then we begin again. But understand this, when hope isn't given, it's earned. And it will be tested. Outside the hall, alarms began to sound. A messenger rushed in, shouting, Sindar ships detected in multiple systems. They're attacking everything that moves. Panic rippled through the room. Elias turned toward the star map on the wall. Dozens of red lights flashed. The Sindar invasion had already begun. He looked at Calthair. They're faster than we thought. They won't stop until Dawnfire is destroyed. Calthair nodded grimly. Then we protect it. The high speaker stood, her voice shaking. Council approval granted. Humanity will have our support, Elias smiled slightly. Not humanity. Life. He turned toward the hologram of Dawnfire, and now glowing brighter as systems began to awaken. His eyes reflected its light. We built Dawnfire to reignite stars, he whispered. But maybe it can reignite hearts too. As the council scattered to prepare their fleets, Calthair walked beside him. You realize they still fear you, don't you? Elias nodded. They should. Fear keeps them awake, but soon they'll learn. It's not fear that saves us. It's faith. Far beyond the council world, the Sindar fleets continued to advance, black clouds across the stars. But now, for the first time in centuries, the galaxy had something they didn't, a reason to fight, and at the center of it all stood one human. Not a god, not a hero, just a man who refused to let hope die. The alien ship, Eldarin's Hope, drifted silently through the wreckage of long-dead worlds. Its crew, Zira, Captain Varn, and the human soldier named Alex, had one mission now: reach Earth. But no one had seen Earth for centuries. The last record said it was a wasteland, burned, abandoned, and forgotten. Yet as they approached the coordinates Alex provided, their scanners started showing strange readings. Energy signatures, massive ones buried deep beneath the planet's surface. Captain Varn frowned, his silver eyes glowing softly in the dark bridge. That can't be right. Earth's reactors should have gone cold 1,000 years ago. Alex didn't answer. He was staring at the blue planet growing larger on the screen. His heartbeat was steady, but his eyes were filled with something between grief and pride. He whispered, "We never let go." Not really. When the ship entered orbit, the crew gasped. The planet looked scarred, oceans blackened, continents cracked, but lights flickered beneath the surface like veins of energy. And then, a voice spoke through their comms. Unidentified vessel. You have entered restricted Terran space. Identify yourself. Zyra's hands trembled. That's a human voice. Varn quickly opened a channel. This is Captain Varn of the Varen Alliance. We seek contact. We bring a survivor. There was silence for a moment. Then the voice returned, colder this time. A survivor? That's impossible. No humans left off-world. Alex stepped forward and spoke clearly. This is Sergeant Alex Carter, Terran Defense Forces. Authorization code 9 Beta Earth. For a long time, no one answered. The bridge lights flickered. Then static cleared and the voice returned, softer now. Stand by, Sergeant Carter. Earth remembers you. The alien crew exchanged shocked looks. Earth remembers you. It meant humans were alive, hidden, watching, waiting. Minutes later, their ship was pulled by a tractor beam toward the planet's surface. Through the thick clouds, they saw what no alien in the galaxy had seen for centuries. Massive underground cities glowing with power. Entire ecosystems rebuilt beneath the ruined crust. Human banners still hung on tall metal towers. As they landed, hundreds of armored soldiers surrounded them, humans in black armor, their helmets reflecting the light. Each carried weapons that seemed too advanced for any current technology. One of them stepped forward, removing his helmet. His hair was white, his face scarred, but his eyes were alive with determination. Welcome home, Sergeant, he said. You kept the flame alive, Alex saluted sharply. Always, sir. Humanity never dies. The older man turned to the aliens. And you, outsiders, you bring more than curiosity. You bring news of war, don't you? Captain Varn nodded slowly. The galaxy is collapsing. Empires burn. The swarm rises again. At the mention of the swarm, every human face hardened. The older commander whispered, "So it's time." "Time for what?" Zyra asked softly. He looked up at the dark ceiling where faint rumbling echoed. Machines waking from deep sleep. Time for Earth to return. The ground shook. From beneath the surface, massive hangar doors opened, releasing ancient warships. Their hulls glowed with strange blue energy, their engines roaring like thunder. Zyra stared, speechless. These ships were unlike anything in the galaxy, sleek, silent, terrifying. Those ships. They're thousands of years old, Varn muttered. How are they still operational? The commander smiled faintly. Because humans planned for this. We knew the galaxy would fall again, so we built the Ark fleet and waited. Alex clenched his fists. And now we take back the stars. The commander turned to the alien visitors. You said the galaxy is losing hope. Then tell them, hope has a name. Zyra tilted her head. And what name is that? The commander's voice grew firm, echoing through the hangar. Humanity. Outside, the sky turned bright as the first Terran dreadnought rose from the ground, its hull marked with... The signal from Earth spread faster than any weapon. Across broken systems, burned colonies and shattered fleets. Every receiver, every forgotten outpost heard the same voice. This is Earth. Hope is returning. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy stopped fighting. Even the most hopeless species looked up at the stars and listened. In the cold ruins of the Varan capital, thousands of refugees gathered around a single old transmitter. The human's message played again and again, and every time it did, someone began to cry. Zyra stood at the heart of the crowd, her skin shimmering faintly in the dim light. She whispered, and they're really back. The humans are alive. Beside her, Captain Varn didn't answer. He was staring at the horizon, at the incoming ships that darkened the clouds. Dozens of human dreadnoughts had appeared above the city, silent as ghosts. Their engines didn't roar. They hummed like something ancient and alive. Each ship bore the same insignia, a burning white sun over a broken world. The humans called it the Solar Crest. On board the Solaris, Commander Grant stood before a wide screen showing the galactic map. Red zones marked fallen empires. Yellow zones marked those still under siege. Only a few blue lights remained, faint, scattered symbols of the living. Alex Carter entered the command bridge and saluted. Sir, fleets are ready. 72 Ark ships, 2,000 carriers, and, well, civilians are begging to enlist. Grant's lips curved into a faint smile. They waited too long for this. Let them fight. Zyra and Captain Varn entered next, looking uneasy. Commander, Varn said, his voice calm but respectful. The Council didn't expect Earth's return to look like this. Your ships are awakening weapons no one understands. What are you planning? Grant turned toward the viewport. The reflection of 1,000 Terran ships glowed in his eyes. Planning? He said softly. No, we're finishing what they started. Zyra frowned. They? The ones who abandoned us, Alex said, his tone sharp. The Council left humanity to die centuries ago. Now we'll save them anyway. Hours later, in the far reaches of the Orion cluster, something stirred. A deep vibration echoed across dead systems, low, alien, and monstrous. Inside the darkness of an asteroid field, the swarm was moving again. Millions of bioships and living weapons the size of cities spread like ink across space. Their leader, a towering creature called the Broodmind, awoke from its slumber. Its thoughts rippled through the hive. The signal has returned. The flame of flesh awakens once more. An alien voice in the swarm asked, The humans? Yes, the Broodmind hissed. The destroyers of night. The ones who burned worlds for survival. We remember their fire. The hive grew restless. The swarm remembered well the last time they met humanity. Entire clusters had turned to ash. This time, the Broodmind declared, we devour the light itself. Back on Earth, deep beneath the surface, the human command gathered in the Vault of Nations. Every screen flickered with alien faces, leaders from 100 species, desperate and afraid. Grant stood at the center of the chamber. You called for peace, he said. But peace never came. You ran, you hid. Now the swarm comes again, and there's no one left to stand against it, the alien delegates murmured nervously. One spoke, a tall crystalline being named Sarah of the Cthulhu. What are you offering, Commander Grant? He turned slowly toward the holographic galaxy map. The Terran Alliance, he said simply. One command, one fleet, one fight. Captain Varn hesitated. And if they refuse? Grant's voice was calm. Then they die alone. Silence filled the chamber. Even the aliens who hated humanity knew the truth. No one else had the strength left to face what was coming. That night, Zira found Alex standing on the observation deck, staring at the stars. You really think you can win this? She asked quietly. Alex smiled faintly. Win? We're not fighting to win, Zira. We're fighting because it's who we are. He pointed toward the stars where thousands of Terran ships glowed like tiny embers. When everything falls apart, humans rebuild. When hope dies, we make more. The swarm doesn't understand that. Zira looked at him, her voice trembling. And if you fail? Alex's expression hardened. Then we burn bright enough for the galaxy to remember what we were. Far away, the swarm's first wave reached the edge of human space. Hundreds of bioships began consuming planets, tearing through moons and mining stations like insects through leaves. Alarms blared across the Terran fleet. Enemy contact in Sector 3. Grant's command echoed through the fleet. This is not a drill. Arc Fleet, engage. The first human dreadnoughts moved silently into formation. Their weapons glowed blue, energy building like the heartbeat of a sleeping god. Zira watched from the bridge as massive cannons extended from Solaris. What is that? She whispered. Grant smiled grimly. Something old. Something hungry. He raised his hand. Fire. The stars lit up. A single beam of white energy cut through the void, slicing an entire swarm fleet in half. The explosion rippled for light years. When the light faded, nothing remained. Not debris, not corpses. Only silence. Varn exhaled slowly. By the stars? What kind of weapon is that? Grant turned toward him. It's not a weapon. It's a promise. Across the galaxy, the message spread again, louder, clearer, unstoppable. This is Earth. The war has begun. Hope never dies, and for the first time in 1,000 years, the galaxy believed it. The stars were burning again. Across every system, the echoes of war returned. But this time, the galaxy did not run. This time, they fought beside the humans. The Terran Alliance grew fast. Every surviving species, Varan, Cthulhu, Lurian, even the stubborn Kel, sent what ships they had left. They gathered under one banner, Hope Never Dies. But deep beneath Earth's surface, inside the ancient bunkers known as the Core Vaults, a different kind of battle was unfolding. Commander Grant and Alex Carter stood before a sealed door that had not opened in 500 years. Engraved above it were the words, "In our darkest hour, let the sun rise again." Alex's hand hovered over the control panel. Sir, are we sure about this? The archives say Project Dawn was incomplete. Grant's eyes were hard. It doesn't matter. The swarm adapts. We can't stop them with ships and courage alone. We need what's inside. The door hissed open with a deep rumble. Warm light spilled out, artificial, almost alive. Rows of stasis pods lined the chamber, filled with frozen bodies. Human soldiers, but not ordinary ones. Their veins shimmered faintly with golden energy. Their armor seemed part of their skin. Zira, watching from behind, whispered, "What are they?" Grant replied quietly, "The Sunborn." Centuries ago, when humanity faced extinction, the Terran scientists had tried something forbidden. They infused soldiers with fragments of star energy, living reactors bound to human DNA. It gave them power beyond measure, but also burned them from the inside. Only 13 survived. And now those 13 slept beneath Earth, waiting for the day humanity would need them again. Alex looked at the pods uneasily. "You're going to wake them?" Grant nodded. "We don't have a choice. The swarm is learning. Every hour their ships grow stronger." He placed his hand on the control terminal. "Begin activation sequence." The lights dimmed. The air grew hot. Slowly, one by one, the pods hissed open. A figure stepped out. Tall, pale, eyes glowing faint gold. His voice was deep and strange, almost echoing. "Who calls the Sunborn?" Grant met his gaze. "Commander Grant of the Terran Alliance. Humanity needs you once more." The Sunborn's eyes flickered. "The fire never died then?" Grant smiled faintly. No, it only waited. Meanwhile, in the outer systems, the swarm began its counterstrike. The brood mind had changed. It had tasted human fire and adapted. Now its ships were immune to plasma and beam. They pulsed with a new energy, a mimicry of human weapon signatures. On the bridge of the Solaris, alarms blared. Swarm fleets incoming. They've bypassed 3 sectors, straight toward Earth. Alex's voice cut through the noise. All fleets, form defensive line around Sol. Get civilians into deep shelters. Zyra turned to him, fear in her eyes. If they reach Earth, they won't, he said firmly. But his eyes betrayed doubt. The holomap showed thousands of red marks closing in. In the core vault, the Sunborn awakened fully. Each one radiated faint sunlight, their armor pulsing in rhythm with their heartbeat. They spoke little, their faces calm but ancient. One of them, a woman named Ceres, looked at Grant. You brought us back to end this? Yes, he said. The swarm is coming for Earth. We can't hold them without you. Ceres walked toward the surface elevator. Then let us remind them what the light can do. The first battle began near Jupiter's orbit. The swarm's bioships darkened the sky, blotting out the sun. Their weapons pulsed like veins of lightning. Human and alien ships fought side by side, but for every swarm ship destroyed, 2 more appeared. On the Solaris, Alex watched as hundreds of allied ships went silent. We're losing ground, Zyra said. Alex clenched his jaw. Then we bring in the Sunborn. The order was sent. Moments later, a dozen bright trails streaked from Earth's atmosphere. They weren't ships. They were people, burning like falling stars. The Sunborn entered the battle. When Ceres struck the first swarm carrier, it didn't explode. It vanished. The energy she carried tore reality itself, erasing the enemy from existence. Another Sunborn raised his hand and released a blinding pulse that vaporized entire fleets. Even alien captains on distant ships stared in shock. What are they? Zyra whispered. Grant's voice came through the comms. The first humans who refused,